In this video, we're going to be covering camera shaking. So I'm going to assume you have a base knowledge of how to make a cinematic, but in case you don't, you want to really quickly make a sequence. And if you right click in the content drawer and go to cinematics and choose level sequence, you'll actually make a level sequence. If you double click on your level sequence, it'll open a window like this. And I assume we all know how to add a camera, but it's just by clicking this button right here. And then we can click on our actor down here and F2 to quickly rename it, and we can call it Island Camera. Once you've got your camera and you've named it, you can position it and change its aperture, focal length, and all of its other settings, and you can transform it by clicking this key right here. So what I'm going to do first is go to the content drawer and look for sequence, and I've got to make sure I'm in the Fortnite section when I'm doing this, and it gives me the sequencer device. I can drag and drop that into my world, bring it up. We actually don't need this window here open yet, so I'll compile it and close it. Okay, so now we're looking for that sequence we just added. Now that I've adjusted the settings of my level sequence, I don't know why it's not showing up here. It must just be a little bug. I know why. It's because I've pressed the G key. So I had to press my G key on my keyboard to show it just then, and all the other things that wouldn't be visible in a gameplay setting. So yeah, now that we've adjusted its settings, I've chosen my sequence I wanted to track. I wanted to play on the warm-up, and I wanted to play for everyone. So that's kind of all you have to do for that one. So now I want to make sure that when it's playing, our players can't move from their spawn point, because I'm actually going to have it nicely panned down to where the player spawns, so it looks really nice and it looks like it transitions down to our player right into the gameplay as soon as they can start playing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a mutator device, and I'll cover it just over our player spawner like that. I can actually drag it down a bit so it doesn't interfere with the spawner. And now I'm going to look for the VFX and turn that off. And I'm also going to look for the movement multiplier setting and drag that all the way to 0. That way they can't move as soon as they spawn. They're absolutely stuck. They can look around, but they cannot move anywhere. The other thing you can do as well is make sure they can't jump by turn allow jumping off. So now that's done, let's move over to creating our sequence and adding camera shake. So again, we're going to access our sequence right where we made it. Here it is. If I want to track the camera, I can go into perspective and choose the island camera that I named. Okay, so now we're tracking the camera. I'm going to have two kind of cameras, but I'm going to use the same camera. And to give that illusion, I'm actually going to use a fade. So I can collapse all these settings here for the camera. I can add track and add fade track. That's how I'm going to add a transition. So we can make it so it starts dark, and then later we can make it so it comes brighter again. Make sure you click add keyframe. So now we have a nice fade. Okay, so now that I've fully made my sequence, this is what it's going to look like. Then it fades out, and I've quickly transformed the camera. And done. And hopefully our character is spawning right there, but cannot move, can look around, but can't jump or move. So now our sequence is done, we're going to compile it, and then we can close the tab. But we're going to be right back there because we're going to add our camera shake. So camera shaking is a blueprint that you actually want to make. So if you right click in the content drawer, create blueprint class, and instead of a prop or building static mesh, in the search bar, you can already see it here, but if you don't, just look up camera shake base and this should appear. Once you've made that blueprint, name it cam shake, and you can actually add multiple types of cam shakes, so it's definitely worth renaming it so you can identify it. Okay, so now that we've made a cam shake, we're going to go into the blueprint by double clicking it in the content drawer. And then we're going to see a few settings that come up. The one we're going to want to worry about is the root shake pattern, and we're going to drop down this menu here and we can click Perlin noise camera shake. And then if we drop that down again, we can go down to timing, and when it says duration, right now it says it's going to only last 1 second. We're going to set that to 0 so the camera shake lasts as long as we tell it to in the sequence. If you don't change that, your camera shake will only last for 1 second. So now that we've done that, we can see a bunch of other settings here like location. So the amplitudes and frequencies are going to be the easiest to adjust, but if you want to adjust more specifically, you can add how much it swivels along the x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. Same with rotation. You can amplify the effects of rotation, pitch, yaw, and roll all together up here, or you can do them specifically here. So right now I'm just going to add a slight rotation with small frequency, and after we're done changing all the variables we want, we can compile it up here and then close out of it. Now what we're going to do is go back into our sequence, and to find the blueprint you just made, you've actually got to click on the camera you want the shake to happen to. So this will be island camera. Don't click on the camera component, actually click the main camera. Now we're going to hit track, and we're going to go up to where it says camera shake, and it will give us all of our blueprints we made for a camera shake. So this file would be empty if you didn't make a blueprint for it. So now we're going to click on it, and we're going to drag it out so it lasts the entire time. Now, if you press play, you'll see when it goes slower, you can see a little bit of camera shake happening. So there you go, that's pretty much all camera shake is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust it right in between here so it doesn't start camera shaking until we get to the second bit of it. And that's beautiful. So now what we're actually going to do is experiment with the blueprint we made. And this is where everything is really easy to adjust and manipulate. We can amplify the rotation amplitude and compile it. And so now it will save across this and into the sequence we've made. Now if we press play again, we should see a massive shake. Okay, that's a bit more. That's actually quite nice. So now what we're going to do is try the frequency of the rotation and compile it. And there you go, now we have a very violent camera shake. Now I'll experiment with the location settings, so I can just reset these to 0 and their initial settings. Compile that. Now you can see a tiny little wobble. So that's actually quite nice. So what I'm going to do to make this scene come to life is a mix of both. And there we go. So now all I've got to do is launch the session in Fortnite and see how it runs. Okay, so now we're in Fortnite. Let's start the game and see what our sequence looks like. And there we go. Okay, so right now I actually forgot to change it so the mutator zone disables. So I'll quickly show you how to do that and then we'll be done. So back over in the UEFN editor, we'll just go to our sequencer here, so we can actually click on here to stop piloting the camera. We can close out of our sequence and we'll click on our mutator zone. And then what we're going to do is go over to the user functions, which is by scrolling all the way down here in the settings. We'll choose disable, get the picker. We'll choose our cinematic sequence device. And then on stopped is when we want it to disable. Just gonna play the cinematic. I can't move, and now I can. So there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you want an in-depth tutorial on anything like landscaping or like cinematic devices and stuff like that, do let me know in the comments, and I'll start making it right away. And good luck creating. I'll see you guys next time.